Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the HG Build Divers Galbaldy Rebake, otherwise known as the Galbaldy Rebake. And I gotta say, this is what I would think is a really cool, interesting design. It's cool to see like something like a mashup of the Galbaldy, obviously from HGUC, and then taking some design aspects and coloration from Ironblood Orphans and mashing that together. I think it could have been really cool for a big, massive, bulky mobile suit, but it does kind of suffer in kit form, and that's just kind of a shame because separately they're both really fantastic kits. The HG Ironblood Orphans Gushon Rebake and the Galbaldy are also just really great kits. But together here, this kit just does kind of suffer in a few areas, and that's just a little bit unfortunate, but I think there is definitely still some potential there. It is a really cool design. It's just going to take a little bit more work, I think, to really get it to be able to do maybe what you're going to want it to do. That said, if this is a design that you're into, it's definitely going to be worth the extra work because it is sporting some very, very unique features. So I think that's definitely going to be one of the best things it has going for it, is just some of the unique aspects of this, that giant massive cannon that it has on its back, those really giant huge shoulder pauldrons. Its other weapon too, also very Ironblood Orphans-esque, these hammer scissors, what is it? Hammer pliers, that's what it is, sorry. So there's pros and cons, but we'll get through all of that over the course of the review. Just want to say a huge thank you, as always, to USA Gundam Store for supplying me with this kit to share with you guys. Do check out the link to their site down below and use that coupon code there, ZakuAurelius10, save 10% on anything you want to order there. Let's take a closer look. Starting off with a closer up look here at the articulation and the details and everything. In kind of typical HG Ironblood Orphans fashion, this kit does have a pretty fair amount of stickers here, so little yellow stickers there for these vents on the side of the shoulders, white stickers here for the symbols there on the top, white there for that white across the back of the head. Of course, this whole black part there for around like the mono eye, including the tiny little mono eye there. That's all a couple of stickers that wrap around there. And then back here on the cannon, a couple of white stickers that just wrap around the trim of that. And there's a few more on the weapons we'll see in a moment, but all in all, it's not terrible, but there are a few on there, and those should be pretty easy enough to paint in if you do want to paint those in. For the head here, very alien-looking head. It's very long and kind of very strange, and it obviously has this big, huge horn out the top as well. And so the articulation of the head is going to be very limited. Up and down, you're really not going to have too much movement there at all. Side to side, you of course can move that plenty fine, but I think this would be really cool if you're just painting this, to paint this then with like the mono eye like here off the side or something like that. So it just kind of, because I guess it's supposed to be like a track for the mono eye to go like all the way around there, which is pretty cool. And then just like with the Galbaldy kit, we have this really cool mechanism here in the shoulder that the whole shoulder joint just kind of slides out, and then you can bring that forward pretty well. It is going to be a little bit hindered just because of this giant shoulder armor here on this kit, and you can bring that up pretty well as well, about to there. These little bits here in the side of the shoulder in dark brown will move individually, those two flaps there, so you can have those up like so if you wanted. You are going to have one of the few seam lines on this kit here on the top of the shoulder just going straight through there. Pretty normal for an HG, but just keep that in mind as well. The arm actually rotates at the top of the elbow joint, not at the top of the upper arm, so that rotates there. This is one small aspect of the design that I don't really care too much for, just this elbow joint, how it's just kind of there exposed. There's no other like armor around on like the side or the back of it or anything, so it just kind of looks just kind of out there and looks very weak in terms of like the full design. It also doesn't really have much articulation, as you can see. It can only get about a 90-degree bend out of that. Also, in my opinion, I think it just looks a little bit better with that rotated 90 degrees like so, whereas like this is the front of the forearm rather than it being like this, where this is the front of the forearm. This seems like it should be the back of the forearm, like it is here, like that. That just seems to make a little bit more sense in terms of the overall design. I know the Galbaldy is typically like this, but I just thought it kind of looks better like that in my opinion. The wrist, of course, is just on a ball joint, and then here in the waist, it suffers from the same thing as the Galbaldy, that the waist articulation is pretty nice forward and back, but then as soon as you want to stomach crunch that, it just is going to pop off this polycap here in the center of the stomach, and then you kind of have to feed that up into there, and it's not really well connected without taking the whole thing apart and everything. Some HG kits recently have been suffering from this problem, and I really hope that Bandai finds a way around this design. It's a good design in terms of like how it mechanically should work, but it does make it kind of annoying when you're trying to pose the kit, and this is often popping off like that. Then this very large front skirt armor will move up by itself, but really only about to there, so that is going to be a little bit hindering, I think. Here in the side skirts, those also move up a little bit as well. The back skirt doesn't move at all. This is just fixed there, but here we can see we have this attachment piece for connecting on the hammer pliers. You can remove that if you want, but then you just have this kind of ugly H detail there indented in that. One thing quickly too, just back up to the backpack, we obviously have this giant cannon on here. This will just move basically at one articulation point like this, forward and back, and that's pretty much it. Back down to the legs, we have some rotation there at the top. Those can come forward and you get a nice double joint in the knee. But again, you can only bring the knee up so far because of this front skirt armor, and you can only bring it back so far because of this very large back skirt armor, which is now running into both. So this is now hitting the front and back skirt armor at the same time, and this piece here on the back of the leg also does tend to fall off a little bit easily. You can just pop that back on. But I have to say, I do like the extra armor plate added onto the back of the leg. It does help add to the extra bulk of the suit overall, and does look quite nice. The ankles, though, are going to be very limited in side-to-side movement, and then front and back also going to be pretty limited. They're not going to really have much room to move at all. The feet are really nicely detailed up underneath. That does look pretty good with a little bit of just empty space there in the back. And yeah, they look great, but they just aren't really going to be able to do much. And that is going to be the biggest problem with getting a wide stance with this kit. Because with this kit being a big, massive, bulky design, you want it to have like a nice, big, wide stance like that, but it just can't really do it because the ankles aren't able to go flat at that width. About the widest stance you can get is like that, which is just kind of like a basic standing pose, which is fine, but it's not really quite as cool, not as dramatic as a wider stance would be, which would be nicer. So that's one thing that I think you might want to modify on this, the ankle joints a little bit. Also, while I've got it here, I will address the question of if this is back heavy at all due to the cannon, and yes, it is. You definitely do have to have the kit posed at a pretty straight up, if not slightly leaning forward angle, because that cannon will weigh it back quite a bit. The very large feet, I feel like, probably do help a little bit, but they can only do so much. This thing is quite big, and it is very kind of far away from the back as well. There's a pretty big gap here between like the main body and the bulk of the cannon, so that is definitely going to be a little bit of an issue if you aren't putting this up on an action base. As for the weapons and accessories, we have one just built here onto the arm, the knuckle guard that just flips down over the hand as just a kind of punching weapon, kind of similar to what the Hyaku had. And then we've got this shield, just again, kind of very basic. We have a sticker there for the symbol for that. On the inside is kind of nothing there. What looks to be like a beam saber handle or some sort of beam gun or something in that. We don't get any sort of beam saber effect parts for this, but if you have a spare one, I'd reckon that would fit in there. And then of course the main weapon is the hammer pliers. Very cool big giant hammer, some stickers on here for the little white details. And then of course they open up. So again, very Iron Blood Orphans style here. All in all, it's pretty cool, not super heavy, so I don't imagine it's going to be causing too many weight issues depending on what you're going to want to do with it. Obviously, it's not going to be able to hold it like straight out with one hand or something. It's probably going to get weighed down. You can also attach this onto the back skirt, as I mentioned before, just clipping it onto there. And then if you guys watched the unboxing, you saw that this kit does come with all the pieces to make just the regular Galbaldy. So if you wanted, you could make a kind of light tan colored Galbaldy kit if you wanted, and then you just have a lot of extra parts. But some notable leftover parts from that, obviously we have the full beam rifle of the regular Galbaldy here, along with everything else. And then the head, of course, which why I pulled this out is because I'm interested in seeing how this is going to look with just the regular Galbaldy head on it instead. So let me just switch this and have a look. Okay, so the first issue that I'm noticing is that because of this extra armor around the collar, it's actually going to be very tight. It's going to barely fit onto there, and then the head is not really going to be able to move at all, so it's very limiting in that. That said, it is a pretty interesting look. One thing, if you guys saw my review of the regular Galbaldy, I don't really care too much for this kind of pinhead look of the Galbaldy's regular head, but it is an interesting look with the rest of this design. So basically, as I was saying before, I think the best overall feature of this kit is simply the uniqueness of it, the unique design features, and the unique aspect of the giant cannon and the giant hammer pliers. Things like that is what is going to make this kit set apart from other kits in your collection and other kits that maybe you'd be looking for if you want something that's very unique in its design. This one is definitely that. That said, obviously there are some cons there as well, some weak points of articulation. Stickers, if you want to consider that, but again, like I said, I think the stickers for this kit really not too bad. They're just little, just kind of fill in the gap details that are pretty easy to just paint on. One thing here about the hammer pliers is it's going to be similar to the Gushin Rebake in that it doesn't really hold them too well. It's kind of hard to do any sort of real pose with them. I feel like if you wanted to actually put this in some sort of diorama of actually having them like in use, clamping on some other different mobile suit or something like that, you could probably set that up in a way that it would look a little bit more natural. But as it is just the kit by itself, it looks a bit odd holding them like that. You can't really get the arms like to be in like a right angle where it looks like it's working really well, and I don't know really how they would really be able to do that. I think it would be kind of hard to do with an HG. With a master grade where they're able to include a little bit more articulation and like odd points of articulation in there, maybe a little bit better, but in HG it just can't really do it too well. But that said, again, it is a very interesting and unique feature. If you wanted to do some work to get it to look really cool, I think you definitely could do that, and it's something that very few mobile suits, very few Gundam kits that we have in the world. Out of the thousands that there are, there's maybe only a couple that have any sort of weapon, anything like this. So that does make it fairly unique. So in the end, would I particularly recommend this kit to anyone out there? I don't know, not really. I would have to say, if this is the kind of thing that you like the design and you think that this looks really cool and you'd like to have it, then by all means go for it. If this is something that you're just kind of on the fence about and not really too into, then I would say definitely just pass and just get the regular Galbaldy kit. It's much nicer. Or any of the HG Armed Blood Orphans, well, not any of them, but many of the HG Armed Blood Orphans kits are also very nice as well. This mashup of the two works and doesn't work in different ways, so I don't know if I can really recommend it for everyone. As for this as an entry in the HG Build Divers line, I feel like it's pretty kind of standard in there. The HG Build Divers line so far has been kind of, yeah, right about the middle. Not really any of the kits have really stood out particularly to me as being fantastic HG kits, but on the other hand, none of them have really been too bad either, and this one just kind of seems to be a continuation of that trend. So with that, guys, I hope this review has been helpful to you. If there's anything that I missed or forgot to mention, feel free to leave that down in the comment section below. As always, guys, love hearing any feedback that you want to share. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Coming soon. Bye-bye. Hey! Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10. Save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.